as possible. And also, lots of people will work with us because of our scale if we can just give them a useful platform. And I think they're going to do both of that. I'm sure they're going to move that way. No matter what people are saying, they will move that way.
The reason I think because as an application developer, if I were to go into this business and say, you know what, applications is everything, I have really good ideas, I'm going to go start writing applications. My problem is I don't have access to the 18 million subscribers or the 28 million subscribers. So, and also due to the regulatory environment in communications business, I'm almost forced to go and ask or beg the incumbents essentially to give me access to their subscribers, right? So it's probably going to happen like you said, where application developers will come to them. It will be found money probably, but they'll essentially have to then invest in building delivery platforms so they can onboard applications, test them out, ensure quality of service, and then roll them out, right? And then charge the developer for that privilege. So
the good news is they're already beginning to act that way. Every one of the major tier 1 carriers is more open now than I've ever seen them to working with third-party developers. Now, if you really want to knock on a specific door, I would go call Quest. And the reason for that is Quest, because it has no other choice, is going to build out its broadband platform and then partner for everything else that moves over the pipe. I mean, they've told me this over and over again, and I actually believe them because they don't have a choice. Really don't have a choice. They're never going to get enough scale to be a player in IPTV, so they won't do it. They'll use DirecTV, or if you want to create a service, run it over our platform, we'll brand it, co-brand it, whatever. They're very, very open to applications and software now. So, you know, one of the companies I'd approach first probably would be Quest, because they have more need for you than the other carriers do. I mean, frankly, there isn't any application anybody's working on that won't someday end up shopped to Verizon or AT&T. That's clear, right? Now, Quest is more receptive because they have to be. So I'd knock on their door, and you can tell them I sent you there, because they have to eat their own dog food. They say that they're committed to it. There's a strategic reason to do it, so get on it. Start doing it. So I've terrified everybody or bored them, one of the two. I don't know which.
I have a question for you. Follow up to Trevor's question from a different perspective, though. You know, totally agree that applications is the way things are going, and the convergence of applications and networks is, you know, what we're seeing, what the future will be. However, you did mention, you touched on things like IMS, service delivery platforms. I throw in there SOAs, and there's been a lot of hype about them. And so question is, you know, how much reality, where are we at really in terms of developing these software open architected platforms? Who's going to develop them? Is it the carriers? Is it the cable companies? Is it between the application developers and the carriers? And, you know, when do you really think that they'll really be widely available to put those applications onto the networks?
Okay, so two parts of that question, and therefore two parts of the answer. IMS is the right principle to go forward because it enables you to develop an application quickly, prototype it, yank it if it doesn't work, throw another one up very quickly. So the principle is right. The thing that I worry about whenever we, the telecom industry, get into standards is we take too damn long, right? So if I'm giving advice to somebody, I'd say the framework is right. You need extreme agility. Don't wait for the standard to be finalized because you're losing time, right? Time's really important now. I mean, we can already see some things coming. Broadband penetration, the adoption rates are beginning to flatten out now. Well, why is that? Well, just about everybody who wants it already gets it. All right, so broadband's not going to drive growth much longer. Wireless has been driving growth, but again, the adoption rate's going to start flattening out because we're at 80-some-odd% penetration in the US, most European countries, because the SIM cards are probably over 100%. One of the things about 4G is you're going to start hearing executives say, no, our goal for the 4G network is 400% wireless penetration. And you're thinking, that's nuts, right? So, and you should be thinking that if someone tells you this. What they really mean is, at some point, this 1 gig pipe can start doing things other than you and I talking on our cell phones, sending text messages, or watching videos, right? Machines will need to talk to machines for all kinds of reasons. Security applications, telemetry, ATMs, I mean, all kinds of devices. The ARPU for those services will be lower than what they're used to. But the network's there. Give me a cheap interface, Ethernet works, for example, and start connecting machines to machines, so patient heart monitors, door locks, anything you can think of, those things can be done by the wireless network very efficiently. So IMS is important only because the direction is the right one, but I just tell people, like, I have impatience with standards. I want to get something to market and sell it. That's just my bias. Don't wait for the standards to be finalized. There was a second part which I've now forgotten.
Second part is, who ultimately owns the responsibility for developing IMS or a service delivery platform, or just pulling the whole SOA together?
Suppliers will always develop the infrastructure, right? One of the dirty little things that's happened in the communications business since we sort of divested AT&T and then split off Lucent and all that sort of stuff is service providers no longer have very much technology creation capability in-house, right? So it's the vendors who are about 99% of everything that gets developed. They'll give you input because they're the buyers. But really, technology development is out-house already. It's not captive inside the service providers anymore. So it's Cisco, it's Microsoft, third-party developers. 99% of all software is going to get developed that way. Now this, of course, any of you who've worked for a Tier 1 carrier or even a Tier 2 or Tier 3, software is not their core competence anyway. And there's no way they can create it. They don't have the right culture, they don't have the right people. They won't do it. Which is why everyone says we better go find some partners to do this, because we know ourselves and we're not going to do this. Plus, the other thing is, no matter how big your company is, what percentage of the smart, talented people work at your company? It's a fraction of a number, right? Human knowledge is very globally distributed, and that's the way it's going to be. So we need to build business partnering mechanisms that allow us to bring those people into partnerships with us and hook up, because that's the only way it gets done. There's simply no way for any single service provider, I don't care how big you are, to develop even 5% of the really cool apps. You're just not going to do it. Now you have a platform that makes it very easy to get those things adopted by a lot of people quickly. That's the scale advantage. That's where you really have some marbles to play with. Judy.
FCC announcing the possibility, thank you, of a new spectrum auction in which the licensees need to build out free service to 50% of the population in the next 4 years and to 95% of the population before the end of the license term. And I think that plays into your advantages for applications, but what are the other implications are kind of fun to think about or torturous.
Well, this whole notion that the requirement for getting 700 megahertz spectrum is that you've got to give away free service is going to be about as successful, again, going out on a limb here, as municipal Wi-Fi was. You have to have a business model. This is expensive stuff, no matter how you play it, and people have to pay you money for it, ultimately. So I just think it's a dumb idea. And nothing against Chairman Martin. Some people in this room are very Reed Hunt oriented. I used to be, I'm not anymore, for reasons I'd be glad to explain to you down the road, but it's a dumb idea. It doesn't work. We've just had every municipal network you can think of shutting down because there aren't, number one, enough people to pay you money for that thing. Secondly, you can't sell advertising, which was the premise. We'll make it up in advertising. Scale is the way you get to advertising, unless, and this is where the service providers have, again, an instinctive advantage. If you can target the user's existence right now, tell me where that user is, tell me what that user likes to do, tell me what that user has done in the past, and give me somebody who's got a service they want to sell that user right now, like Starbucks, right? You can make some serious money out of that, and it's very micro, very targeted. But if you're not doing that, you need scale, very large numbers to sell advertising and make any money at it. So that's why the Wi-Fi networks failed. And this other proposal, I'm pretty sure, isn't going to go much of anywhere. I wish it were not the case, but I'm not optimistic about it. Time? Okay. Well, you're lucky, because now I'm going to go away. Thanks for listening.